In recent years, Hollywood has been seen gradually declining in its ability to control the whole world narrative, and the one thing it had its eyes set on: the audience. It was once the unchallenged authority of power and glamour. It is now struggling not only in terms of movie ticket sales, but now, amid the shiny veneer, a less appealing reality is unfolding, a machine that is gradually running down. How did the movie industry, once the epitomic representation of glamour and influence with its billion-dollar budgets and cast Hepburn and Bogart, start to surrender its power and its grip on the populace? But most importantly, what evil plan does it harbor, and what is one trying to achieve through the failed attempts to regain that power? Hollywood, the film industry capital of the world, deserves its reputation for being innovative and sparkling, and the premier institution for providing entertainment to the world. But, as anyone who has ever watched Entertainment Tonight knows, beneath the glamour and the gowns is something far more sinister. Unfortunately, people do not realize that Hollywood is not simply an entertainment industry or monstrosity that exists solely to make loads of money for its owners. It is an extended arm of the media and one of the most potent propaganda machines of the modern world. If one goes back to the beginning of the 20th century, then Hollywood was just a piece of swampy wasteland in the outskirts of LA nevertheless. Within the decade, it turned to be the core of the emerging film enterprise. During the 1930s, there were 8 major studios that dominated the film industry, and they claimed 95% of the movies displayed in theaters. This was not just the claim to the right to entertainment, but the domination that went far beyond the motion picture. And this change was initiated by a man called Louis B. Mayer, or at least the man who started from nothing and ended up as one of the most influential moguls in Hollywood. Unlike many of his classmates, Mayer was born in Russia in about 1880 and, with his family, suffered from the poverty of living conditions in the United States of the beginning of the 20th century. For as long as he intended to drop out from school at the tender age of 12 to join his father in scrap metal business, Mayer had developed a staggering interest towards the performing arts. Perhaps this urge can be attributed to the fact that he had the fortunate experience of watching live plays, which, according to him, led him to harbor the passion of ever working in the entertainment industry. To cut a long story short, with hard work and a strong business acumen, Mayer was able to save enough to buy an old burlesque theater in Haverhill, Massachusetts in 1907. He changed the building to serve his purpose of making films within the reach of working class by renovating the building into a cinema. Mayer's success in this endeavor enabled him to grow, and by the early 1920s, he was operating a string of cinemas all across New England region. The goal which Mayer had in mind, however, was to own theaters, and not the great cinema structures as many people might think in the present days. In 1914, he made what is considered one of the most vile and yet extremely lucrative move of his life. He bought the rights to The Birth of a Nation, a film that is rightly seen as derogatory to blacks and a eulogy to the KKK. Despite such themes of the movie being reprehensible, the movie was a great success at the box office, and Mayer, after deriving the profit, started his own production company in Hollywood. Mayer's ruthless business tactics and his willingness to exploit controversial content for profit laid the foundation for Hollywood's transformation into a powerful propaganda machine. As the head of MGM, one of the largest studios, Mayer controlled not only the films that were made, but also the lives of the stars who appeared in them. The studios of Hollywood's golden age exerted total control over their actors, dictating every aspect of their public and private lives. This control extended to the content of the films themselves, especially during times of national crisis. During World War II, the US government recognized the power of Hollywood to shape public opinion and began collaborating with studios to produce propaganda films. Between 1942 and 1945, the Bureau of Motion Pictures reviewed and edited over 1,600 film scripts, ensuring that they aligned with the government's pro-war message. Films like the modern movie villains are initially depicted as having noble purposes, but their motivation is later exposed as malicious. They represent usual society, which should be preserved by the hero and the regime, both of which are defenders of liberty. This has made the concentration of partial control on only 6 companies, namely Disney, Sony, Viacom. These companies possess the major studios and are in league with the government, and in fact, part of the so-called propaganda machine. For instance, American Sniper movie and the latest version of the Top Gun movie were fully endorsed by the US military and will in turn dictate the kind of messages passed in the films. This control extends beyond movies to news media, where a few executives control much of what people hear and see. In 1983, 90% of US media was controlled by about 50 companies. Today, it's just 7. This is another move in this direction that Disney has done recently for purchasing 20th Century Fox. This means that there is a lot of reliance on the few companies to exercise huge control over the media, and this has meant that their stories produced seem to lack creativity, at times telling very safe and marketable stories. Companies are willing to produce sequels, prequels, remakes, and similar sorts, rather than fund and work on original concepts. But the model of producing cliched films is in the process of yielding to failure. Disney and others film studios have given good examples illustrating that this approach results in huge financial losses. This means that audiences, consumers, and viewers are tiring out with similar content, thus making cinema attendance to reduce. Examining the cases of movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer, which suggested the viewer something new and different, prove that people are still ready to go to the cinema for fresh content. In response, the studios have moved to the streamers, but this doesn't appear to be the saving grace they were expecting. Bob Iger of Disney, among other entertainment companies, has had challenges with this transition, with low stock prices and a series of bad movies. Even when it comes to the big movie business, the future is not very definite anymore, as people seem to crave for something new and exciting completely. The number of cinema-goers and streaming services subscribers have gone down periodically, with services as Disney Plus recording early 2023 lost millions of subscribers. This reduction in revenues has made the studios look for ways to minimize their expenses, most of which are targeting their employees, resulting in high levels of discontent and strikes. Hollywood must come out of the habit of making more and more successful but over-budget screen violence, which audiences are getting bored of. At the same time, it provides the audience with the industry's empty moral posturing and isolation from any real-world concerns. Ricky Gervais' vicious roasting at Oscars 2020 is a perfect example of increasing dissatisfaction with Hollywood's nepotism. Nevertheless, this means that industry's failure may open the way to more genuine, imaginative, and independently produced pictures, as it would happen during the new wave of the 1960s. For the future, such new voices may come and take over as Hollywood is gradually shrinking and may provide real artists and originality. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.